Hello, welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and now that Echo's over, we're paving the way to Daredevil Born Again. Acknowledging the history of Netflix's Daredevil series and bringing in the Defenders. This will include a much less Hawaiian shirt punk version of Wilson Fisk and that filthy murderous ruffian we're used to, according to Vincent D'Onofrio. Now that Kingpin has maybe found the light and will be running for mayor, being exactly what the civilians of New York want, what does that mean for Daredevil, who is exhaustively the opposite and the same of Wilson Fisk? In this video, we'll discuss some of the many ways that Kingpin and Daredevil could approach their new roles as heroes and villains inside New York City. At the end of this video, I'll give you what I think is most likely going to happen. But first, be sure to check out nerdriot.shop to check out the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. You can grab a shirt featuring Kingpin, or maybe a shirt featuring the best Bubs, Deadpool, and Wolverine, or maybe one of our many other great options. Grabbing some merch from nerdriot.shop is the best way to support the channel and all the work we do here in this video that I brought to you, and me just being here. So go check it out. We learned in Echo episode 4 that Kingpin and Maya were alive during the blip in 2021. She's also wearing the same clothes at the dinner scene that she wears again in an episode 1 flashback. So, assuming those flashbacks were in chronological order, she fought Daredevil the next day or right after her final moving on from the theoretical to the practical, as Fisk says. So Maya, Kingpin, and Daredevil all did in blip. Other than what I mentioned earlier, Hawkeye killed Maya's dad during the blip. Those stages of grief are super long sometimes. I think Maya's dad dying and her fighting Daredevil happened within a short window of time. She didn't age, and she wasn't the best fighter yet. She kept up with Hawkeye and Ronin in episode 5 way better than she did with Daredevil, so her birth of a villain arc was a springboard, and we see her skills getting better throughout the Hawkeye flashbacks. Also, though it might not be 2022, we're playing Like Elite 47 Shitty Bang, which technically came out in 2022. That's a loose connection, but it's still within the blip territory. It would also make sense that they're dropping little teases to life during the blip in Echo if our newest Defender storyline supports Daredevil and Kingpin's next venture. We know from past set photos a little bit of Daredevil Born Again also takes place during the blip, and arguably, yeah, a lot of creative restructuring is happening to Born Again, so they could change the timeline of the story. But I'd argue Marvel has major bullet points when they plan their projects out, and the creatives help them get to those milestones. So I think the bones of being set a little during the blip are still there, since that event appears to affect Kingpin heavily, and we still need to know how he got out of prison. If that's true, that means Kingpin and Daredevil have been going at it during the blip allegedly for 5 years, and you can tell in Daredevil's tone he's done with it. Really listen to his opening in Echo.
I've been watching them all night, and then you guys show up and screwed everything up.
We've heard Matt irritated before, but this was stone cold beside himself failure in his tone, like he's been awake forever and monitoring every path to Kingpin again unsuccessfully. Poor Matt's just working overtime while the other heroes and vigilantes are just off killing people, hiding, or not existing. Bringing the universe back is far more important than stopping a crime lord in New York, but still deserves attention, as the ripple effect can really up New York when everyone returns, and Matt sees that. So with that in mind, we're not seeing much of Vanessa, so I'm assuming she was blipped, because there's no way in hell that you are telling me in those flashbacks and in Echo, Vanessa was never introduced to Maya. That just, I refuse to believe it. So what leverage does Daredevil really have after the events of season 3? What support and character would he embody if Karen and Foggy were blipped? Remember, Daredevil works alone but functions off those around him. He doesn't bode well in isolation, unlike Fisk. So during the blip, he's probably deteriorating while Fisk thrives, out of jail, no leverage on his head, and a playground of freedom and trouble waiting to be formed. That would make me spiral too. And look, Daredevil's smart, I get it, but he's also got a lot of issues. In Netflix's MCU, we explored the violence, religious, and grossly abusive tones in Daredevil, and in Echo, it reminds us and emphasizes we'll get that and the psychological torture. So we must be ready for a dark, dark blip in New York City's underground crime scene and how that molds Daredevil and lifts Wilson Fisk up. Also, like, I'm sorry, just imagine being Daredevil during the blip and not being able to see what's happening, but hearing all of the heartbeats around you just disappear and faint screams of New York. Truly, imagine a man whose power depends on a sense of hearing and hearing the world just stop. Opening Born Again with that scene would be horrifying, but so eye-opening, and we'd be in the same point of view and bubble of confusion, because what would you do? Normally, Matt listens and springs to action, but there are too many alarms and too many calls. Where do you begin? There's no Foggy, no Karen, and Matt didn't know what the snap was yet. So this confusion probably led to his reluctance to act immediately, because jumping headfirst into the unknown isn't going to solve why all the people just disappeared. This would be the first tick to drive our boy mad. I keep talking about Karen and Foggy as though they blipped. So Karen and Foggy were instrumental in building Daredevil and keeping him grounded in the fog of rage he was maneuvering. They were the sidekicks he needed. Foggy was the only family he really had left other than crazy ass Stick. He helped navigate Matt's actions and guided him as a vigilante from legal consequences, while Karen put herself in danger all the time for the man. Together, they were Matt's voice of reason. I believe the original discourse of them not showing up on Born Again isn't because of casting, casting, but for the story. If the two have been Blip, that voice of reason is just gone. Occasionally, I have to leave my house, and whenever that happens, I use music as a shield to block out the grocery store, the airport, the coffee shop, whatever. Raycon's everyday earbuds are a critical part of my armor against the outside world, and their noise isolation mode is crucial. The optimized gel tips on Raycon's everyday earbuds make sure they're snug and comfortable, and they don't budge or jostle like some other earbuds do. Also, the touch controls make it super easy to control what I'm listening to without having to dig my phone out of my pockets. God, I hate that. Just by tapping my earbuds, I can change the volume, skip a track, or answer a call super easily. They also have 32-hour battery life and can support 8 hours of continuous play, plus they're half the price of other premium audio brands. Plus, Raycon offers free and easy returns, free shipping, and buy now, pay later options, and I know you guys love that buy now, pay later option because I abuse it. Raycon products have earned tens of thousands of 5-star reviews, and it's not hard to see why. Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/newrockstars to get 15% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. Beyond a ton of guilt and clear obsession, Daredevil suffers from depression, and those emotions shape our characters' values as they push forward. But these characters are going to be challenged by their antagonists. We see this time and time again in the Defender saga. So Kingpin will use this to his advantage and manipulate and successfully orchestrate the downfall of Daredevil and Born Again by using his weaknesses, the city, his support system, and his influence over the masses to drag him down mentally. It's also like, even if you came out of the blip immediately, if Daredevil came immediately out of the blip, he wouldn't be the same, you know? You can't just go back to living. You see that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. People became manic after returning. With Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead becoming the new directors for Born Again, they both have Marvel experience working on Moon Knight and with Loki season 2. Though I'm proud of Loki in the end, he wasn't really given a choice, and neither was Moon Knight when revealed to be still working under Khonshu. So I think we can expect the same sort of outcome because these directors are great at not letting our hero win. So I expect Daredevil to be portrayed as the villain by Born Again, but also privately suffering from his own battles that will unfortunately come out unfavorable and probably very violent to the public, making him out to be the villain he's always vowed to fight. While Daredevil's character is being tested, Kingpin is probably escaping from jail during the blip and returning to his old school crime ways. In an interview with Screen Rant in regards to how the blip affected his operations, Vincent D'Onofrio said Kingpin had lost some of his power and he needed to get his city back. We see that actually happening during the fight in Echo, where his goons mentioned that people are moving in on Fisk's territories and they were sent out there to take them out. As they said in the same Screen Rant article, I'm sure his employees in the city were massively affected by the blip. So like Echo, he gave them work and purpose, promising futures and homes as New York began to diminish, using that great tactic of his, gaslighting people into working for him. I'm gonna punch him in that big old head. He's also influencing people while they're already under traumatic stress from watching half the population disappear. And yes, I know I'm not a doctor. That's the other Jessica Clemons. But I imagine in a post-blip world, Fisk to Daredevil is like Bane to Batman.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
You think after the events of Echo, Kingpin might have lightened up. Maybe he wants to make a new journey and use that same control and love he used on Maya to love bomb the city of New York. Well, in an interview with Vincent D'Onofrio and The Hollywood Reporter, he said Maya's powers in the finale didn't change him, just enlightened him, and now he's running for mayor. He's the same old Fisk and just on a power-hungry mission to have it all. At the end of Echo, he said we need to stabilize the situation. What if the situation was Daredevil and he knew Maya was the best weapon he had to take him on, like during their very first fight? The news with that light bulb and a new strategy to break Daredevil politically and legally rather than blowing up half the city again. The Mayor Fisk storyline also isn't new. Charles Soule's Daredevil issue showcased Mayor Fisk winning, using his charm, rigging the election, and having New York on a string. He runs his campaign on an anti-vigilante agenda and sends his cops after Daredevil throughout the series, and we know Daredevil isn't going to take out honest people, so it's a perfect ambush. Daredevil makes it his mission to dethrone Kingpin, and eventually he does with the help of the other Defenders. Though the storyline is sort of proving itself in the MCU, in the comics, in that run, Kingpin doesn't know that Matt is Daredevil. He works as the deputy mayor, but in our MCU, he knows that face. So I don't think everything will be adapted, but reminding us of the legal representation that comes with being a mayor, and maybe him forcing Matt to represent him regardless, and having access to all the city's resources is important and a major takeaway from the comic books. At one point, they had like a static reverberation thing that messed up Matt's hearing and it drove him crazy. Essentially, I'm sure he'll do what the Sokovia Accords did and put the fear in vigilantes and superheroes into the eyes of civilians as he did in the comics, But if we wanted to step away from the Sokovia Accords agenda-like mandate, we could simply remember Falcon and the Winter Soldier and how after the blip, everyone helped those returning and basically discarded those who survived. Kingpin could blame the heroes for not being there for the city post-blip, or blame the heroes for their disappearance and having a horrible decline in the economy. There are a million ways to persuade the public, especially in the MCU. Matt will not only be framed as the bad guy, but in our eyes will become a villain for a moment. Echo was a bad guy and then an anti-hero. Now look at her. Between the new directors and the dark tones of the Netflix's MCU coming over and rising, I think we expect small to no wins in Daredevil in the first season, as we normally do, and what keeps us coming back for the next season. We don't want to see our boy fall, but this is Born Again. He'll bounce back. His villain arc will begin in the blip and torture him inside, and hopefully with the help of the Defenders, will bring him out of that darkness. That's my theory, and that's just my idea. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Lulu_Clemons, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Check out the break room and the deep dive. Let's all hope that we can become baddies one day without the abusive, manipulative, psychological, dark tones that come with it. God, what happened to villains just blowing up the moons and giggling? Bye.